Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and today we are going to be talking about work-life balance and a whole lot of other things. And so I am with Arlene Cohen Miller, and she is very accomplished. So Arlene, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to our guests first?
Okay, well, nice to meet everybody. My name is Arlene Cohen Miller, and I started off life as an attorney, and I've been a domestic relations and family law attorney with divorces and child custody and representing kids who are in dysfunctional families. And I got really burned out early because I didn't have the tools as a young woman to take care of myself with all of that. And I became a commercial attorney for businesses. Several years ago, we sold the business while and I've had a law firm, a solo practice in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, and a suburb of Denver, Colorado. And in the later years as an attorney, I got my diploma in transformational holistic counseling and also a diploma in coaching and mentoring and also certification in meditation. I think I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that the next stage was coming. And also those things really helped me as an attorney, with communication, with negotiation, with my son, everything. So yeah, we sold the business a few years ago and I opened Jewel Consultancy, which is my coaching and mentoring business. And I guess here I am today.
That's fantastic. So tell me about the word gratitude, because in some of the information you talked about, you talk about gratitude and using that in a work-life balance situation. So tell me how they're related.
So with gratitude is really related to everything.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to be less stressed, what we focus on is what we're going to get more of in our life. That's kind of the law of attraction. It sounds really simple, but when we start applying it, we see where we're really not doing it. And the one way we can really focus on applying it is to make sure that we are grateful for as many things in our life as possible. And when we have that gratitude, it just sort of raises our vibration and everything seems easier. I mean, we can have just as much on our plate, but it's going to be so much easier to do anything that we need to get done with more grace, ease, and flow because we're more upbeat. We're more just grateful for all the blessings in our life. And I think a really easy way to apply it that I found easy, because it's like, how can I be grateful for this guy jerk cutting in front of me on the road and, really hitting my car because he has to go 5 miles an hour faster than me. But what we can do is we can start off being really grateful for all the foundational things in our life. We have so much we have a roof over our heads. Mm-hmm. We have hot water to take a shower or a bath. We have good food in the refrigerator and in our pantry. We have an automobile to drive. We have people in our life that love us and we love them. So we have a lot of foundational things that we just take for granted. And so if we step back and really take the time to feel that gratitude and to bring it into our hearts, a lot of the little things that just, sort of niggle at us, it's easier to let them go. I'm not saying your life is going to be easier as a mom who's also an entrepreneur, but it's easier to get things done if we're in that mindset and we're having those feelings than if we're completely overwhelmed and stressed out.
That's true. I agree with that. But say that we are overwhelmed or say that we are frustrated. What is the first thing that you like to reach for when that happens?
Well, the easiest thing to reach for is breath work, because it's so simple. And see what happens when we get really overwhelmed and stressed. I know everyone knows this, but we forget about it. We breathe from way up here in our chest, which tells our body, go into fight or flight mode. And we even stop breathing. We're not even conscious we're doing it. We'll take breaths and then we'll hold the breath. Mm-hmm. And so some simple breathing techniques can take your body physiologically from fight or flight to rest or relax mode. And so no matter what you're doing, you can breathe because you have to breathe to live. So what I recommend, a really, really simple one is you can just breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose and have your out breath longer than your in breath. And if you're really stressed out, just continue this kind of breathing. And at the same time, what also helps is that when we're overwhelmed, what happens is that we're either in the past or in the future. We're feeling bad about the past. We're something's catching our attention. Maybe we're reminiscing about the past, the good old days, or we're worried about the future, about something that we have to do. And the way to get ourselves calm, in addition to the breath work, is to be fully present here now. And I'm not saying anything that hasn't been shared by a lot of really amazing people, but one way that you can do that that's really, really simple is I pretend I'm a tree. So I have these roots of light. They're going from my chest, down my body, down my legs, out my feet, and they're grounding into the heart of the planet. So literally, I'm connecting my heart to the heart of the planet. And when we're really grounded and fully present in our body and breathing, it doesn't take away our problems, but we can get ourselves back to a place where we're competent to handle what's going on.
I like that. And it's true. I mean, I've noticed that the more lately, since I've started this podcast, I've learned to start to take a deep breath before I say anything, because I might not say something I want to say. And so, does the same technique work if you're irritable or if you're cranky, or do you use a different technique for the same thing?
It does work if you're irritable or cranky, but one thing that we can do is we can like tell the universe, hey, because sometimes what happens is we begin to get a little bit irritable and cranky, and we could take care of it, but we just ignore it. We keep on doing what we're doing, and it builds and it builds and it builds. So I would say that a very first step for you, or for anybody, for me too, is I ask the universe to help me be aware when I'm getting irritable or cranky. Because also, in addition to the breath work, to the grounding, it's really important to give ourselves a break. Maybe we need a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break or a 15-minute break to go out in nature, to have a cup of tea, to do something to get away from the computer screen and all the to-do lists that we have to do. And simply taking a break, I love to go outside, or just, anything like that. It's going to help us. Or sometimes I just listen to music. I love to sort of dance around the room, and I feel better. I can go back to work. But we need to pay attention to this human bit of ourselves that's saying, I'm tired. I've had enough. I've been helping you to, as a soul, to work through and get all this stuff done. We need to take a little time out, just like when we were kids, except we're the adult and we can give that to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. But don't you think that's hard sometimes? Because, if you're a mom and you have a business, and maybe you're running multiple businesses like I am, and then you have your bills and you have your taxes were due yesterday if you have an S Corp, or you have a business or personal. I mean, there's just so much. Or you have family coming into town, and like I'm telling you my whole life story right now. And I just ran this marathon, and I'm in total pain, so it hurts to walk. But yeah, I have all these things I got to do. So how do you recommend, taking that time when you feel like you don't have the time?
Well, I guess, and I found out that I was pregnant when I first opened my first law firm, like right away, and my husband at the time was like a workaholic, so he wasn't there. And I was like, how the heck can I do that? So I do know how you feel. And I guess what I find that's helpful, that I wish I knew before, is that if I listen to myself, because there's certain biorhythms that we have. Like I know if I want to write a blog article, do it in the morning. Right. Don't try to do it at 8 o'clock at night. Don't stare at the screen. So if we work with how we do things when we're in the best time of the day for us, we're going to get a lot done more quickly if we're staring at the screen or whatever we need to do because we have to get our taxes done, but we're just not in the space to do it. We could take 10 times as long to get it done. So even though it feels like I don't have enough time, by giving ourselves that breather, getting back to a more centered and aligned space, we're going to do it more quickly. There's going to be more grace, ease, and flow in getting the job done than being all tense and tight and think we have to do it now when we can't even think. Right. So, yeah. There is also kind of like this esoteric kind of a metaphysical way to handle it as well. And sometimes I use that as well, is that we think that if we need more time, that we want to slow time down. But what I was taught to do, because I have like a spiritual side of it, and I've been studying for a lot of years, is I just visualize, because I live in Colorado, like there's the water from the mountains, the snow is melted, it's pouring down. And I just tell myself time is going really, 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 really fast. And when we speed time up, it gives us more time. So we try to slow that time down to give us more time, but really that tends to make things so they go quicker. It's like when you first fell in love with someone, you wanted to slow time down, but all of a sudden it was gone and you had to be apart from them. But when you speed time up in that way and visualize it, for me, it's like a raging river. I find that even if I'm driving somewhere and I'm not supposed to get there on time, I actually get there on time.
Interesting. That's an interesting way to think about it because it is true. And visualizing, I like that you talked about the visualizing because you have to see the end in order to be able to get to the end. And because your mind, subconscious, whatever you want to call it, your intuition, it's going to get you to where you want to go if you allow yourself to listen to it and you visualize it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, visualization is really, really powerful. Even visualizing if we're really, really stressed and you have all those things to do, you can just visualize yourself really calm and getting your taxes done and enjoying it, sipping tea or whatever you're doing, and all those other things, taking care of your body, maybe nice, Epsom salt bath for that big long run, and then but still getting everything done because then we're working with the law of attraction. What we focus on is what we get more of in our life to really implant that new way of being for ourselves.
I like that. I think back to when I was running, I visualized myself finishing or crossing that finish line so much that I quite honestly don't remember very well the entire run because I just kept seeing myself at the end. And so I was able to get to the end. So yeah, I think it's important to make sure that whatever you're choosing to do, whatever you're choosing to focus on, what's your end goal? So what other things have you learned? Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I just wanted to share with you because you were talking about everything that you have in your life, and this is relevant to all your audience as well. What you have right now from your running is a foundation that you can apply to all other areas of your life. You know how to visualize the end. You know that you don't even remember all the painful stuff in the middle, and you got to the end of that really major accomplishment. And so we all have things where we have strengths, where we can easily get things done, where they come easy to us, and we have that grace, ease, and flow. And so we need to tell ourselves as moms who are mompreneurs and all that stuff, that we already had that skill. We already had that foundation. We're just going to apply it to this new area of our life. We're not starting from scratch.
I like that. And that's true because you're an attorney, which that's an accomplishment in and of itself that you kind of skimmed over. And it takes a lot of work to be able to get to that and do that. And so kudos to you for that. And then you go on to get all these extra certifications and diplomas to be able to help other people in a whole different way. There's the legal way, there's the holistic way. And so you've married those two things together. And so kudos to you on that.
Well, thank you.
But tell me how that's helped you, combine those two things and how it's helped you in your business. You mentioned it a little, but can you expand a little and how that could help other people?
Well, I mean, we do have both sides of our brain, and I was kind of a head case for a long time as an attorney, and it's really nice to have that balance. I mean, I'm not a I do have my law license, but my focus is to be a coach and a mentor right now. I was a practice law for a long time, and it is stressful, and I just was ready for a change. But, I really feel like, for all of your audience out there, that we have a lot of gift and skills, whether you've actually gone and got the certification or not. We need to give ourselves credit where credit is due and acknowledge all those skills and abilities that we have, even with what we do in our day-to-day life. So for me personally, the holistic counseling diploma and the coaching and mentoring, like I said, initially helped me to communicate with other attorneys, to clients, to people I was trying to settle cases with my son, with my staff, in a way that I was actually listening to them and being fully present. Because I think that's the one thing that coaching really gave to me, is that I realized that what most of us do when we listen to somebody, we're thinking about what we're going to say.
Yeah.
And what coaching trains you to do, and also counseling, is to be really fully present. And so as you're saying something to me, I'm not like trying to analyze it in my head. I'm just being really with you, and then I'm going to let flow whatever comes. And when you do that with other people, as a client, as a coach, or whatever it is, they're going to feel really heard and understood, because they are, and you rarely get it from other people, because most people are only thinking about themselves. And, I'm sure you do that in your podcast as well, because otherwise, how could you be a good podcast host? And it really gives you those kind of tools, but you don't have to necessarily get a diploma or to do that. As mothers, I think we are trained to be able to do that. Sometimes our tempers get a little short because everything that's happening, but we know how to do it, I think, instinctively. And a wonderful thing that we can apply to our lives and model for our kids and model for the people that we work with or we interact with in business.
I like that. So how can we apply this to our children? Um, because you mentioned getting a little frustrated sometimes, and it's
Oh, as a
true.
parent, I don't know, I'm not alone. But my
No,
son is all grown now, so I get to go
right.
out and enjoy my grandkids. But
Right. But let's be honest
what do
here.
you
Even
mean?
adulthood kids can be frustrating because you see them, and it sounds like your son's doing very, very well, and he has kids of his own. But sometimes it's tough being a mom and even in adult kids. And you say, okay, well, I don't recommend this. Here's a good example. My son, he just started, for those of you that have kind of been following the podcast, he graduated. Now, getting him to graduation was a miracle, right? And so then now, because he's got special needs, so he is taking 5 classes and he could not be on time if it killed him during for the last 2 years of high school. So I suggested, don't take a class before 10 a.m. So what does he do? 7:30 in the morning. And then he's going to take 5 classes back to back. So it's like 15 credits. And for him, it took him 2 months to write a paper for an English class. And so I, as a parent, am super concerned that he's going to fail. But I've suggested it and he's doing his own thing. So as a parent, what do you recommend when you start to get frustrated because you don't want to discourage them from doing what they, you don't want to be the negative Nelly, but at the same time, like, oh my gosh, you're setting yourself up for failure. And so how do you balance that?
Okay. Well, my son has ADHD and he developed the ADHD at age 3 when I
Mhm.
divorced his dad.
Okay.
And I was so attached.
Hmm.
This is my personal story. It's really funny
Yeah.
that this is part of
I love
yours. I
this.
was so attached to him succeeding. I mean, could do his homework, but to get it actually turned in, that was like a miracle from heaven. It's like, really? It's right there in your backpack. Turn it in. And so he went to University of Wyoming, and I just what I ended up doing, because one of my friends just told me, who's like a mentor of mine, because if I'm mentoring people, I'm being mentored as well,
Right.
is that look, I don't want to pop your bubble, but it's really arrogant of you, Arlene, to try to control his life and be attached to his success.
Hmm.
And so what I did was the hardest thing I've ever done. I stepped back and I allowed him to fail. Like if you failed some classes in college, there's nothing I can do, man. You're an adult now. And if you get fired from a job, it's going to be the school of hard knocks. And I actually allowed him to go through that. And he's really successful now.
Right.
Um, I had an idea for an entrepreneurship thing for him because he's really good at chess and he never listened to me. Ended up listening to my youngest brother and my mom one day and decided to do it. He goes, well, I'm going to listen to mom. So, yeah, it was the most difficult thing I ever do, to drop the attachment, to step back and to allow him to fail.
Right.
And actually, he still made it through college, much to my surprise. Um, Much to my surprise, when he was a kid, I was like, oh, is he ever going to be anything out in the world?
Hmm.
So, it was a really big lesson for me. And I found that even, until very recently, I would still want to tell him what to do. And I just dropped way back from that. And it's really strengthened our relationship. So, and he's 38. I can't tell you that it ever ends, but I guess maybe having a sense of humor is helpful. So I don't know if I have words of wisdom, but I have lived through it. And if that's helpful, great to you and your audience. If not, you're going to have to find your own way with this one.
No, I actually 100% agree with you that I think we as parents, even as a child, like when they're children, um, we tend to want to help them be successful, sometimes more than they understand to be successful. And so I think that you become more of the cheerleader and you do have to step back and you do have to let them fail. And I think I learned with my first one, because he has Asperger's and horrible ADHD, to do one math paper with 18 problems took 12 hours, no joke, and if not 18 hours. And so it was just horrible. It was a horrible experience. And I wish that I would have stepped back before and let him fail earlier. Now he did fail his math class and he retook it, but it's because they have to learn coping mechanism and skills. And if we as parents constantly are trying to bail them out of things, they're not going to learn that. If they always forget their homework and they say, Mom, I forgot my homework, can you bring it? And you do all the time, then they don't think that they need to remember it because mom will bring it. And so I think it's fantastic advice. And I think we as parents, even if we tie it into our workplace, sometimes we try to overmanage our employees as well. And we do the work that, quite frankly, they're responsible for. And instead of letting them learn so that they can do better. And so have you seen that a lot? I mean, do you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I guess I was so busy as an attorney that I didn't mind delegating. There's just no way to get it all done. Yeah. So and my partner was really good at sitting down and explaining things to people. He had a much better temperament than that. So I could sort of pass the buck and say, you can handle this, which I'm very, very grateful for. So yeah, I agree with all of that stuff. And really, if you look at some of these kids, who are, have very, very rich parents and everything's been handed to them, they don't have the life skills to make it. Right. And by doing this, even though it's tough love and it's hard on us as mothers, it strengthens them and their ability to thrive. And it also strengthens our relationship or our love bond with them because we're not hovering over. And I wouldn't want that as my mother to do that to me. It wouldn't have worked. So yeah.
No, it's good advice. And we kind of took a tangent, but I think it's important.
No, it's important.
We just don't talk about it enough. And I think that we as parents need to understand that you got to let your kids go sometimes. It's hard to watch, but you got to let them go, because I'd rather them fail while they're still at home than when they're out in the workplace or out in the real world. So anyway, well, what did I not ask you that you wish I would have?
Oh, gee, I don't know.
Gone by. It's so fast.
Yeah, I guess I just want to really, I don't know if you haven't asked me, but I just wanted to reaffirm to the whole audience that, that it is important to do what we just talked about, and that it is scary at times, and then we don't know what's going to happen because there's no predictability, and that we need to know that we're never alone, because lots of times when this is going on, I just felt so alone. Yeah. There wasn't Mompreneurs podcasts back then. There weren't work-life balance coaches. I worked with some healers and stuff with my son. It's just like we feel alone in all this, but there's podcasts like yours, and there's a lot of other groups out there. So I think that we're much more powerful when we come together in groups and we realize that we can learn from each other, and that we're not alone in all this. And I think that gives us a lot of strength. I
agree, which is why I wanted to start this podcast, because I had my first 4 and now I have my last 2, and there's a huge gap, and I wish that I would have had more information with the first 4. So I totally agree with you. Well, if people wanted to find you, specifically our listeners, how would they find you?
Well, if you're in the US or Canada, my cell phone is 720-936-2634. My website is Jewel Consultancy, JEWEL Consultancy. You can find me on LinkedIn under Arlene Cohen Miller. Those are 3 good places. And I do have an offer that I want to share to you for your audience. So all they have to do is mention your name or the name of your podcast and contact me, and I will give them a free discovery session as a coach.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you offering that. That's very generous.
Yeah. Oh, I love working with moms. I'm a member of the Colorado Women's Bar Association as an allied member. And I'm the only grandmother there. Oh, and younger than me, but I wish I had someone like me to go, hey, it's going to be okay. And whatever else I can do as a work-life balance coach for women in that group, because man, it's nice to be able to give back in that way.
That's great. Oh, that's very good. I know I'm starting to cross over to the other side where there's so many younger, and I have so much advice that people don't want to hear. Yeah. So anyway, Arlene, thank you so much. And Unbreakable Mompreneurs, thank you for listening. Just understand that there is work-life balance, that you can have both, and it might not always be balanced, but you can have both, and it's okay to take time for yourself. So go out and make it a fantastic day. And if you like what you have heard, then like and subscribe and share. Have a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.